Hello. Hi, good afternoon. Sorry about being a couple minutes late. I was hosting the 15 minutes with FutureFeed discussion right before this, and it is always a good discussion. All right, so let me quickly share my screen here. Okay. And we are, close that out, in the FutureFeed Training 1 for Service Provider session. Okay. Just for everyone's situational awareness. Let's go here. Let me zoom out here. All right, so let's see. We have 5 folks on the call. Thank you all for your time this afternoon. My name is Rachel Leidy, and I am the Director of Compliance Education here at FutureFeed. I still consider myself newer to FutureFeed. It's been 8 months now since I've um, started working with FutureFeed. And just so you're aware, I do the training sessions, but I am also working on producing some user manuals, some service provider related instructions and manuals that you guys could provide to your clients, helping them figuring out what to do in FutureFeed, how to do it, and where they should start filling out their system specific or company information. So that's to come here soon, okay? For now, I am displaying my screen and I want to show you a couple things. Let me go to the training website first. You probably recognize this. It's probably how you signed up for this session here. I would like to point out that we are in this service provider training session here, and we do recommend that all of our service providers attend the end user sessions, training 1 and training 2. We recently redesigned the training outlines provided under service providers, and we recommend that everybody goes here for just learning basics about the tool. Okay. In the end user training is where I go over the whole interface of FutureFeed and I talk about the different sections of FutureFeed, what you're doing in each section, how to do it, that kind of stuff. So whether you're a service provider or an employee working for your company trying to work on these requirements, everyone needs to learn the basics on how to use the tool. And we cover that in this end user session. Okay. So, with that being said, is there anyone on the call who has not attended the end user session? And it's okay if you haven't, that we really recently just changed the outline of the training. And so if you signed up for this session a couple weeks ago, it didn't have that message on there of, hey, we recommend you go to the end user training. And I'm only curious because I could probably briefly go over the interface just to level set everyone. Okay, it does look like we have a couple folks on the call that haven't had the full introduction to the user face. Okay, so the interface. All right. So I'm going to go over that just briefly. Um, Kind of going off script here, but it's a small group. So I will go over that briefly. And then I'm going to show you after that, I'll show you a couple tools that we have available only to our service providers. And they are tools that help service providers with managing multiple client compliance packages. Okay. So, and feel free to interrupt me along the way. I am working on one screen. Okay. So if you put something in the chat, I may not see it right away. And I'm going to kill my camera just to save bandwidth and we can get started. All right. All right. So then I'll go over FutureFeed real quick. But as I said, uh, Actually, let me do one other thing for you guys, since this is kind of you're in that funny transition phase. Um, visit this website, whatever page you're on in FutureFeed. It doesn't matter if you're in the SS page or in your SSP. Just scroll to the bottom and then click on this training link. That will bring you here. And go ahead and sign up for these 2 sessions here. Now, because you guys haven't, I've put you in this position now, I'm going to give you 2 links. Okay. And they're links to pre-recorded training sessions. So you can either sign up to sit through a class with me, or you can watch these 2 videos. It's just recorded from a previous session. So you can learn on your own or attend a scheduled session. There's session number 1, end user training, and session number 2, end user training, link there. So, all right. You guys can see my screen, correct? Or not yet? Wait, have I been talking this whole time and you guys haven't been seeing my screen? Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, we saw it, or I saw it earlier, it just dropped for a minute.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So, as service providers, when you guys log into FutureFeed, I'm guessing that eventually when you log in, you're gonna see this kind of dashboard. Okay. I have access to all 6 of these environments. This this would be a listing of all your clients, all your different companies or clients you're working with. And then if you're working with a big client that maybe has a couple different uh, assessment scopes or compliance boundaries, then they would have separate environments. Okay, each one of these here is producing one system security plan, one system POAM, and so uh, you're only putting in one environment's data into this uh, environment here. Um, okay. So now I'm going to use this training subscription environment. When I click into an environment, it's going to bring me to this dashboard area. Usually you're going to see this compliance area here, but I've set my default. Now I've set the default to this dashboard, but I set my default to my individual responsibilities over here. So when I log into FutureFeed and click into that environment, it's showing me immediately my listing of things I got to work on. So you can change your default view when you click into an environment. All of this, though, is in the dashboard area here. This is where you can view a nice graphic visual representation of your client's current compliance status. Okay, it's semi-interactive, so you can drill down to the uh, what am I trying to say? Down to the control or requirement level. And then even further, if you click into a requirement, then you could see what the status is at the objective level. You can jump straight to that requirement in the SSP or in the assess dashboard if I want to look at more details or make some updates. This assessment prep center here, what we've done is this is a recent addition. And what's listed here, these are all pages of FutureFeed. Each one of these is a separate page or section of FutureFeed, okay? And let's do contract manager. So if I click on contract manager here, it's going to bring me to that page in FutureFeed. Okay, now I'm in the contract manager section of FutureFeed. And I want to bring your attention to this compliance review box. Okay, this box here, this data here, directly relates to that other page we were just on. Okay, so what you're viewing here under the assessment prep review center is you're viewing the status. Notice how I just deleted that all out. So now it's been unassigned. I deleted that stuff out. Um, you're seeing that compliance review box for every page here in one listing. Okay. And why we've given you this ability to assign FutureFeed section responsibility or page responsibility and track the review of that information that's displayed in that area and approve that information is because in FutureFeed, um, the system security plan that is generated here, which is displayed here, but you can go over under deliverables and export it. That system security plan is you're not actually filling out the data for the SSP right here. Most of what's being displayed here is captured elsewhere in FutureFeed. Okay. Here's my FCI data inventory. These are all my FCI assets. Well, um, let's say that this is wrong. This is not an FCI asset. My Active Directory isn't processing FCI data. Okay. So I need to make a change here. I'm not going to do it here. I have to click on this edit button. Now it's brought me to a different page. I'm no longer up here in the SSP. I am now under the start area in my data inventory in the FCI page. This is where I need to make that change. So I'm going to remove my Active Directory asset. Okay, now it looks good. If I go back to my SSP, data inventory, FCI assets here, my Active Directory asset was removed. So I'm just pointing this out right now because your clients, your customers' system security plan, as well as um, some aspects of their system POAM and some of the other deliverables or reports that FutureFeed can give you, um, all of those are being developed and generated by pulling data from all throughout FutureFeed. And so if your customer has to provide their system security plan to a C3PAO assessor, well, that SSP, you're going to want to review and edit and approve that data. And to make sure that data is accurate, you're going to have people review the data all throughout FutureFeed and get it approved. So going back to that contract manager page, um, if your client that you're working with, uh, someone at their company is aware of the contracts they have and the cage code of the company or cage codes of the company. It may not be the system administrator you're directly working with on the weekly or daily. So you're not going to assign this page to your system administrator. They may not know that data, but you are going to assign it. Maybe you want to assign it to Mina. She's that client's contracting officer or project manager. So Mina is going to be responsible for populating the data in this page. And she would also be, responsible for reviewing it. And if wanted, she can approve it, or maybe I want someone else to approve it, like my system security officer, someone a step higher. So whoever clicks this reviewed button, it's going to log that they've reviewed that data. I'm logged in, I clicked it, so it's capturing my name, but Mina would be the one logged in and clicking it. And then whoever you want to approve it, they're going to click approve. They can add a signature, initials here, submit initials. And now I've um, reviewed and approved that the data displayed in this page of FutureFeed is accurate. Okay, that's going to be very powerful for you guys as service providers. Um, I'm sure you guys all make your customers review their data, right? That's ultimately their data. They're ultimately accountable for the requirements, and they should be ultimately approving, status and what gets displayed in their system security plan. Okay, so now if I go back to that assessment prep center over here, that contract manager page here, it's been approved by me today. Okay, so that's what you're doing. You're viewing all of those little compliance review boxes for every page here in one listing, and then you can click to the pages and see more data here or change out that data. All right. This critical dates here is just another project management tool you might want to use with your client. This is going to set milestone dates for your overall CMMC certification program. So whenever, what's the goal date of prepping for your assessment and finalizing that assessment prep. And then when are you going to plan to have that assessment with the C3PAO? Once you have that assessment, did your client have any findings? If they did, they're going to have 180 days to remediate those. And so, what is that date? Uh, if your client got a certification, it's good for 3 years. So, when do they need to start prepping and working towards that next assessment? So, that's how you use this page. And you just set those dates with the client. You can track goal date and actual completed date. And then, throughout, as you check this little green box over here and mark things done, not done, see if I check this, it's going to generate for me a snapshot of my SSP. So right, whenever I checked this one, my client was at a negative 203. I could view and download a version of their SSP that aligns with that negative 203 score. When I click this one, FutureFeed's gonna quickly generate me an SSP, hopefully. Uh, and then see now here's my score, negative 101 aligns with that, and I could look at an SSP. So that's what you're doing is you're able to take snapshots, and then hopefully, up here you're in the negatives, down here you're in the positives, and you see some improvement, right? Team responsibilities and individual responsibilities. All you're doing here in these two sections is viewing responsibilities. For myself, I can see all of the areas where I have been assigned as either responsible, accountable, consulted, or informed. Okay, all throughout FutureFeed, we're using this RACI model. That's that's to help you and the company's clients really identify everyone who's engaged, everyone who has some level of responsibility, and to what level of their responsibility is. So you're going to see the RACI model all throughout FutureFeed. Um, Now it looks like here's my listing of NIST 171 requirements, and under the 321 control, I was identified as responsible for doing that training. Looks like for audit and management, I'm consulted if they have questions about that. So there I can see my requirements. I can see all the tools and services and documents I have assigned to me, my tasks. I'll show you how to make tasks in a bit, and then the POAMs. By the way, I am going through this a little bit faster just because of, I'm just trying to go over things here real quickly. The end user training or the two links I gave you covers things a bit more slowly and more thoroughly. Thoroughly? Is that a word? Yeah. All right. So also you can view team responsibilities in the same type of data. Just click into the person. Let's see what Jill has on their plate. Here's all Jill's things. Here's Jill's RACI assignments, POAMs. Okay. So that's all the dashboard. When you log in, you will land in the dashboard somewhere and you can set your default view. Start. All your companies, all your clients, they should begin here. this is where when they first get access to their environment, this is where they are going to start providing that high level management information about their company and the system, the data, the contracts that they have, and you can configure some platform settings here. So I'm just going to quickly, I mean, it's pretty self explanatory. This is your company information, description. You have place to track their IT cyber budget and cybersecurity insurance. Locations, this is where you're starting to log the physical locations where FCI and CUI data are stored. Hit new location. Red means this is a required entry. Once you fill out the required entries, hit save, and then it creates this entry here. Now you've just created a whole folder structure related to this one location. Okay. Now, everything you've put in here under overview, connect, compliance, tasks, evidence, everything you put in here all ties to this location. Um, okay, so when you make a location entry, you get like this whole folder system. The same thing when you make a tools entry, you get a whole folder system. Here I've logged my firewall and now I have all these places, and I think of them as folders, I guess, to identify data related to this firewall or house evidence or create tasks. Okay. And then under documents, same thing. When you log a document, you're creating this whole folder system for this one document. One less tab here, but almost all the same information. Okay. So you could see here what I put in the location one for my headquarters. Um, by the way, and I talk about this in my end user training, but when you guys are working with your clients, I don't know, I've seen some service providers who fill out this all for them, but then I've also seen some service providers who ask the client to log into FutureFeed and start logging all the locations and the tools and documents. It is, however you guys want to do it. But just know when either your client or you create an entry like this, either when you create a location entry like this, or a tools entry, or a documents entry like this, at the very least, to get FutureFeed set up to start managing these items, at the very least, we recommend you fill out responsible and accountable, and then go in to connect and connect the entry. So right now I'm in a location entry to the requirements. Okay. At the very least, do those two things. And then ask your client to go back in and start filling out all this other metadata. Documents down here. Maybe there's a facility like map that you can upload associated with this location, or maybe the company is renting this location and the security at this location is provided by someone else, and so you upload those service agreements or those rental agreements, whatever that documentation is that you need, you can upload here. um fill out requirements, provide other details, okay? But at the very least, responsible, accountable, and connect. And why I say that is because now you're making uh, you're setting up connections in the background, important connections. Why I say I define responsible and accountable is because now someone has this thing on their list as ownership or responsible or accountable. So that it's gonna show up under their individual dashboard, responsibilities dashboard. Okay. And so whenever there's tasks related to this or issues, they can track that. And then over Connect, what you're doing is you're building out that body of evidence. Okay. um, which typically that term is used under FedRAMP, but it's just a term in general. for compliance packages in general. So your clients will need to eventually, when they engage with a C3PAO, they're going to need to give that C3PAO their system security plan, all their policies and procedures, other evidence, that type of stuff. That's the body of evidence. That's all that documentation that provides proof your customer is ready for their assessment because they are implementing the requirements. So what you're doing here is you're building out that body of evidence. Okay. So now I'm associating this entry, this location with these requirements. And so if I upload a service level agreement here in my document, it's going to be attached and found as a piece of evidence under these requirements. Under task, you could see what I did for tasks over here. Okay. Tasks is where you're going to this um as a service provider, I would highly recommend you guys use tasks for your clients. Anytime you ask your client to do something compliance related, if you ask them for a screenshot, make it a task. If you ask them to implement a configuration setting, make it a task. If you ask them to update a document or provide you a document, make them a task. So this task area um, is where you're going to create activity triggers related to getting things compliant, and then also activity triggers related to maintaining that compliance. Okay. So right now I have an annual physical security audit. So what I did is I created a recurring task because I know my customer has to do annual continuous monitoring under the 312 family, maybe 312.3, I think. They have to do continuous monitoring. So throughout the year, someone should be evaluating if the physical security controls that were implemented for NIST 800-171 are still working effectively. That is continuous monitoring. And so I created well, let's say your company or that company defines uh a quarterly physical security control assessment. I don't know, maybe even throw the number in there if you want. Define it, assign it to your physical security officer or whoever at that location is going to be doing that work. And then to make it repeat, right? I want this one to do quarterly. I'm going to set it to repeat quarterly. It repeats every quarter starting today. And then once the event is triggered, they have 7 days to finish that assessment and mark this task as complete before things start being tracked as overdue. So that's how you set up continuous monitoring, right? All those things that your customers have to do throughout the year turn into a task. Annual risk assessments, annual security control assessments, quarterly access control reviews, monthly change control board meetings, weekly vulnerability scans, all those things turn into tasks and assigned to your clients or assigned to even your own employees at the service provider company. Um, this is what's great. The power about these tasks then is you cannot delete or close. I mean, I guess you could delete a task, but you cannot mark a task as complete without providing the necessary evidence that you completed that activity. Okay, so another task here that I might want to make related to like initially getting compliant. Let's pretend I'm just working with a new client and I have no clue. Um, and we're just there. Maybe we need a physical access device listing. They don't have one yet. So I'm asking the client to provide a physical access control physical access device. Sorry, that's what I'm talking about. The devices listing. Okay, this is a one-time thing. there. Okay. So you're setting up one-time tasks to get things compliant and get things done and get the evidence captured, but then create the recurring tasks to support what needs to happen throughout the year. Now, when they want to go in here and mark something closed, let's mark the device listing closed. That person, I assigned it to Terry, they would come in here, click on this, and now FutureFeed is prompting them to log evidence. They either have to upload some evidence of task completion. They can link to where that evidence is housed or even develop and type up a report. This is actually, if you click on new document, it's going to open up like a blank Word document where they can maybe copy and paste results in or summarize the results, what have you. Let's do attachment. Okay, let's pretend that's my access device listing. So now save, complete, log, mark complete. So it prompts them to log the evidence and then mark it complete. Now, under my task, that task is no longer listed here, and it kicked me over to evidence. Here's the task. Right here, it's been completed by me today, and if any assessor wants to validate, yeah, did they actually do that task, or if you your guys selves now want to take that device listing and upload it under the appropriate PE control, you can. So if you click on this, now you're going to see whatever uploaded evidence they provided. Okay, just a screenshot of FutureFeed. So the tools over here, same thing. Over here is where you're going to make tasks related to technology. You can see here under my firewall, I need my admin to give me a screenshot of the 15-minute login attempt. Looks like another screenshot. Okay, so this is probably, as service providers, I would expect, or I would highly recommend that you guys use these task assignments, so your clients can't forget about things. Because when they log into FutureFeed in their dashboard, they're going to see that task. And then you gather that evidence that you need to help them prep for that assessment. Uh, Over here under documents, think
Hey,
about.
Rachel,
Mhm.
quick question for you on this. Now, with this task list, can I put all these tasks in my template, and then whenever I onboard a new client, these tasks are automatically created and I can just assign them?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. That's awesome.
Okay. That's great that you brought that up, because now I'm looking at the time and I want to bring up what the gentleman just talked about. Okay. I do want to close out this. Okay. I think attend the end user sessions or watch those two videos. I'm go over everything. But what you're going to want all of your customers to do, whether you guys do it or they do it, they will need to log a listing of all their users, roles, and teams involved with compliance for them. Then under tools, log all of their technology. Just hit log, create the entry, and then again, like I said, open it up, assign responsibility, accountability, and connect it to the requirements. And then under documents, start logging the security documents. Again, responsibility, accountability, and connect it to the requirements. Then your clients now are ready for someone to evaluate their readiness and perform an assessment, or maybe you guys as service providers already did a basic gap assessment for them, and then you're just going to go in here and document those results quickly. Um, and then, yeah, over here in your FutureFeed, this is where all your issues, all those non-compliance, all those failures, all those draft documents or the objectives that failed, they're all listed here. And this is where you will build projects, present them to your clients, and start working on remediation. Okay, so now the things that I want to talk about, let's start with that template environment. I apologize, I didn't catch your name. He had brought it up. So what he had mentioned was the template environment. And this does come with a cost, okay? You will have to purchase this template environment. And what it is think of it as it would be your own environment and you're going to name it template. And so you fill out that environment however you want. But what you're going to do is every client that you bring on board, every client you start using FutureFeed with, you will make a copy or clone that template environment and then rename it for that customer. And now when they log into FutureFeed, whatever you put in that template environment, it's going to be there. They're going to log in and they're going to have a FutureFeed environment that has some data in it. Okay, so as I mentioned, you can build out those tasks and you can even add tools. All the tools that your company uses for all your clients, if you're doing vulnerability scanning, log your vulnerability scanner. If you have a certain RMM tool that you're using to remote in for all your clients, log that tool. Documents. If you have document templates, if your company provides all your customers with certain document templates or you're helping them build out those documents, you could have those preloaded in here. You could even have the requirements pre-filled out. If you're doing vulnerability scanning for your customers, then you're going to probably have objective B where you're marked as fully inherited and met and filled out. You'll have this narrative filled out talking about how your company performs the vulnerability scans and mention your CRM, SRM. So now I'm kind of running out of time, so I'm just kind of summarizing the ability of the template environment. If anybody on the call does purchase it or you are using it and you want some guidance on how maybe to fill it out or what best to do, you could always contact support@futurefeed.co and ask to set up a one-on-one meeting with me, and then I could go over and help you kind of evaluate that template subscription and how you're using it. Because I just cut the time short, so I'll offer that to you guys. One-on-one sessions with me is fine. So yeah, that's the template subscription. All right. That is at additional cost. Now, the next thing I want to show you guys isn't very well advertised, but I think it's a powerful tool. So I've been really harping on it a lot lately. So just give me 1 second, please. Here, I do got to log in to the admin interface for this environment. Okay. So how do I start this? I want to go in here, training subscription, going under documents. I'm going to click on populate. Okay. In the end user training, I talk about this. This is where everybody who's a FutureFeed user can access the FutureFeed templates. Okay. FutureFeed, we have 57 templates available to all FutureFeed users. So all of your clients would have access to this. And they're listed here. Okay. What I'm trying to show you is as service providers, you guys can have your own document library. Okay. So this Tonga Tech sample partner library, I'm going to show you that one. So I'm going to toggle off the FutureFeed, and here's the Tonga Tech. Right now, there's just 5 documents in there. This is what your clients are going to see if you use the document library. This is what they would see. Now, what you see on the admin side is this. Okay, here are all of those documents. This is, if you could see up in the URL, we're in the Tonga Tech document library here, Tonga Tech. Okay. So here I could, first of all, you will have the ability to control which of your clients, which of your customers have access to this document library. Okay. Um, and set some other administrative stuff. But this is where you're going to load all of your documents that you want to have available in that document library to every customer. So if your company, if you're helping with like CMMC security documentation development and you guys have your own like policy and procedure templates, then you would house them in here. And so any client could pick and choose if they need it. You know, some clients already have an access control policy. They may not need one. And then you'll have a client that does. Okay. So log into my document library. You would tell them to go over here, click on populate, and find your guys' access control policy template and download it. They have the option to copy your link. Let's test this out. Let's do this Tonga Tech, yet another document. I'm going to link to this, okay, and hit create. That was, I think, a list, was it? So I got to go over here, and it was in the list. It was the Tonga Tech, yet another document. So it's this one here. If I look at that, let's see. Here it is. It's read-only currently, Tonga Tech right here. If I go over here under lists, there's my Tonga Tech. I can check out right now. It looks like we're on version 2. And if I step back, we made it so they're not able to edit that document. That's what this is, that view only. So they can, if you saw here, it's view only. You're not going to so things that you want to share view only, maybe like your CRM, your master CRM, or a master service level agreement or service descriptions. If your company, for example, if your company's doing incident response for clients, you might have some incident response procedures that you follow. That all could be potential evidence that needs to be shown in an assessment. An assessor is going to want to see an incident response plan that talks about reporting, analysis, how to respond. Well, if you guys are doing that, what's your plan and how are you doing it? So, if you have that type of evidence that you need to provide to all your customers for their assessments, you could house that in there and make it view only. So it's this document library. You could use it for templates and editable documents, but also providing any of your evidence to your customers. And so if I make this not, well, because we linked to it, I want to show you that if I go in here and I make a change to the produced version, let's save, go back, click in here, republish. Now I should, oops, get in here. If I click, I have no clue what just happened. What is this? Hold on. We'll get back in there. If I go here now and I refresh this page, that user, that client of yours should have picked up that that change. So now when I go here, it's still read only, but it now says Rachel Lighty. Okay. So if you guys have, for example, CRM, that type of document typically gets reviewed and updated throughout the life cycle of your services, right? So if you guys change your services up or maybe add a new service or get rid of a service or change your tool or change how you're implementing a service, your CRM document is most likely going to change. And so if you make all of your clients link to your master CRM, then every time you update that CRM, your clients are always going to have the latest and greatest CRM in their package and their document body of evidence and which they would need for their assessment. So this document feature here, you can, first of all, I can make things universally required. Okay. So if you do that, then any client that's connected to your document library, any client is automatically going to see that document here in their listing, If you make something required when they first log in, it's going to be down here. Okay. So you can make things required. You can make them view only or editable, and then publish versions. Okay. So a lot with the document library. Then I want to show you, oh, and by the way, this is where you can control connected requirements. Okay. So what is this? This is a well, I don't know what it is, but acceptable use encrypt. It's an acceptable encryption policy. Whoever wrote this acceptable encryption policy has identified these 10 requirements as being addressed or called out or met in that document. Now, summary notes. I want to show you this. This is part of the document library feature. By the way, did I mention this doesn't come at a cost? This is free. So you guys can have a document library free. It's not like you have to charge, we do charge for that template subscription, but this is free. And just if you want to start using this, reach out to support@futurefeed.co and they will set you up with your own document library. And then you'll have your own management interface like this where you control it. The summary notes here. What you can do here is, let's do 3.1. Let's do 3.1.10 here. 3.1.10. Give me a second to open up. Okay. Here is a templated implementation narrative for 3.1.10. The company has implemented 3.1.10. The company maintains, you'll see here, the company maintains these documented processes. Session lock timeout values and display settings are defined in the hardening guidelines and applied, blah, blah, blah. This is documented here. Endpoint management enforcement, lock settings are enforced across endpoints using centralized configuration tools. Process documented here. I mean, this is a technical one. Up under AC, you could see here, this is templated. The company has an access and request approval process. All access to in-scope systems is formally requested, documented, approved. This is here, right? So these are like templated implementation narratives. Now, if your company had these developed, because I'm sure if you've been doing this a while, you're going to see that the way you talk about the requirements and the way you write the requirements is often similar across different clients. If you're working with a client that in Microsoft products over here, the client over client B who's also using Microsoft products, their implementation narrative may be quite similar. So you could probably develop these templated narratives to help get your clients started and kind of see what the end goal is. Then if you want, you could publish them here under 3.1.10. Let's do that. Here I'm going to publish. And I also want to call out and make these. Let's make this like red text so that the client knows that they have to fill this out. They have to tailor this. They can't just run with this, right? So let's say all of this needs to be tailored. Before I hit publish, I do want to show over here under what control am I doing? 3.1.10. Right now, let's delete this out. This is from a different training. Publish. Okay. It's blank. See here, it's blank. And Now, if I go over here and I hit publish, and I push this to either all of my clients, or maybe I just want to push it to one client. Let's go find, well, let's see, push. I didn't do this in the right environment here. So what happened? Give me a second. Let me just copy this. Copy, delete, publish, exit. All right. So I went into a different template environment. Talk tech. Okay, now I'm in the right one. So here we go, 3110. Sorry, I was not in the right library. That's why there was one. So let's edit this. We'll put this in here, and publish, okay? And now we will push to my training subscription here. I'm gonna push that. Okay, now if I go back here and I refresh, I should see some narrative. Here's that narrative that we typed up, and it's color coded, okay? So what you can do over here is you can have templated summary notes for all 110, or if you happen to be doing like 853 consulting services or Rev3, you can do other frameworks and you can have those templated summary notes and initially push them out to all your clients. But then also if you need to update them in the future, you can control who you know, push them to. And then the last thing I want to show you is you can have this, you can also have custom company specific guidance for every requirement, okay? So over here under 3110, every control has this guidance icon. And what you can have is your own specific company specific guidance tab like this. So your company name would be here. It's your company's specific guidance for this requirement. And so whatever you want to communicate to your clients about the requirements, or maybe about like how you typically help them get, you know, implemented, or how it is typically implemented, you can put that here, and that's controlled here. So you can edit, okay, like that. And so that's the document library. You can host documents, view only, or editable, push updates, and then down here, templated summary notes and and you can have your own custom company guidance displayed to all of your customers. And that is the end of this session. I'm going to stop sharing. I did go off script a little bit. Please watch or attend the end user trainings to get just learn about the interface and generally, you know, how to use a tool. And then if you need to sign up for this session again, but really in this session, all I do in this session is I introduce the template subscription, talk about it a little bit more, and then I introduce the document library option. I don't have any training where we cover actually using the document library and setting it up, or how to best use and develop out that template environment. We don't have that yet. We are working on releasing that in the future. So if you need that level of help from me, or if you'd like that, you could always submit an email to support@futurefeed.co and just request my assistance. That will get assigned to me, and I'll set up a meeting with you.
Thank
Any
you, Rachel.
questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye.